to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a debut author and the author of the book It Will Last Longer. No other than Miss Tara Sander Brooks.
Hello.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Tara. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Of course, I'm glad to be here. Well, It Will Last Longer is my debut novel. I come from a filmmaking background. I'm a cinematographer, and a couple years ago, with the strikes, I wanted to find a way to be creative when I wasn't getting those opportunities in my field. I've always loved prose, and so I went back to my first passion of writing, and It Will Last Longer is the fruition of a lot of writing and planning and years of trying to get back into prose. And so I'm excited to share it with the world.
Share to the world. Indeed, Miss Tara, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. What inspired you to write It Will Last Longer and share this message with the world?
Yeah, so I really wanted to write something that came from my experience as a creative person trying to make a living in LA and delving into what really is the moral background to trying to make things work in a creative field. Where are the lines? Where are the boundaries? How far are you willing to go to pursue this? And I took it to links that I personally have never gone to, but it's fun to think about of where is the line of how much are we willing to sacrifice for our art? Where is that line? And I also just love the city of Los Angeles, and I wanted to write something that felt like a love letter to LA. And so that was a big part of this book as well for me. And other than that, I just really wanted to share stories about queer people that were more than just about people coming out or just about them living their lives. And so all of those desires to see something like that in media and playing around with the psyche of an artist is really what led to this kind of crime noir literary fiction mixture of It Will Last Longer.
It was lost longer. That's what it means. But well, congratulations for sharing your debut book to the world again, Miss Sarah. And how do you define lasting longer in the context of possessions, relationships, and lifestyle?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
How do you define lasting longer in the context of possessions, relationships, and lifestyle?
Okay. I mean, well, the title really came from Take a Picture, It Will Last Longer. And I do really think that in a lot of ways, what we're able to leave for the next generation is what we say via our art and what is worth trying to make last is something that I think is interesting to think about, and where are the lines of what is morally acceptable to make last, which I mean really is what the book deals with the ideas of death photography and the line of like where are we comfortable with the concept of death, and what ways are we kind of reticent to really look death in the face. So I mean that's really where the title came from, and a lot of what the book explores is the ways that art can immortalize things and what really should be immortalized.
Miss Tara, what's the most surprising thing you learned while researching or writing this book?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think what the most surprising thing I learned when writing the book was, and I feel like the answer is probably gonna be more of a personal one than anything else, because I mean, this is the first time I've embarked upon writing a story of this length. I've, spent years now in the film industry writing screenplays and shorter content, and living with characters for so long, I really found myself stepping away from outlining and really kind of writing and seeing where the characters took me, which has been a really exciting journey that has been unlike anything that I've written before. So I guess what has really surprised me is that as much as I love structure and coming up with an artistic uh, piece, sometimes stepping away from the structure is more exciting and can lead to more authentic and interesting directions for the work. So that's more of a like, inside baseball kind of realization, but I really loved discovering along with the characters as I wrote.
How does your approach differ from a typical minimalism or sustainability advice?
Sorry, how does my approach differ from?
Minimalisms or sustainability advice?
Could you rephrase the question? I'm not sure.
So your book it talks all about what's the main topic of your book that you want to share to the world?
Okay, yeah. The main topic of my book that I'd like to share with the world is really a delve into what it means to be creative and really accept that part of yourself fully. If you want to try to journey into a creative field, where's the line between what is morally acceptable and what isn't? How hard should you try to make your dreams come true, basically? Because I feel like all of us out here in LA trying to pursue creative fields, there's a lot of, just these thoughts of like, I would do anything to make my dream come true. And uh, where really is that line of where creativity becomes toxic? And I think that's a very interesting thing to look at. And hopefully, I show some characters on both sides of that line. It's really a moral discussion of artistry and trying to figure out the right path in that world.
Miss Sarah, what personal experience made you realize the importance of longevity in your own and do?
Um, Yeah, I mean, I think trying to have longevity in any kind of creative field is hard. It's easy to have burnout. It's easy to uh, give up. And I think that, I mean, writing this book was very much came out of a place of I was starting to feel that burnout in the film industry, especially with the strikes. There was just not very much work, and so trying to figure out how to continue to be creative and continue to want to express myself in those ways, I turned back to prose. And through the book, I'm also really trying to really think about, where is that line? What is sustainable? Where's balance? Because I think it's very difficult as a creative person to find balance sometimes. And if you want to be creative on the long term scale, whether that's writing, filmmaking, what have you, it really comes down to sustainability and balance in how you're living your life. And I think that that's a constant struggle. I mean, it is for me as an artist, and it's something that I'm interested in exploring through characters as well. And not just within creative fields. I mean, one of the main characters of the book, Abby, she's a journalist, and this is her passion and her love, but she's also dealing with burnout. And maybe it's kind of a specifically millennial case of how hard it is to find and keep a job for people in our generation. And just if you really have passion for something and you want so badly to share it with the world, where's that line of trying to continue to do that sustainably in a way that you're not just going to completely burn out in 5 years? Which I don't have a full answer to that, but I'm trying to explore it.
Let's talk about the practical applications, Mr. What's one simple change anyone can make today to start adopting your philosophy?
Um, well, I mean, I think the biggest thing I would just say to anyone who is maybe thinking about maybe they're a little bit burnt out in any kind of creative way is just giving yourself patience and time. I mean, writing this book came out of really feeling like it was a necessity to find a creative outlet for myself. And I ended up writing it pretty quickly. Once I started writing, I really went, completely in, and I had the opportunity and privilege of being able to do so because the industry was so slow at the time that I had a ton of time to write. And not everyone will have that. And that's fine, but it's about really looking inside yourself, I think, and realizing that, like, if you don't feel fulfilled, what is there that you can do to try to change that? And finding a personal writing practice for me in a time when I was not able to be creative outside of my own home, uh, has been something that I feel like has really caused me to feel healthier in general. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think that we're capable of finding ways forward for ourselves more than we sometimes realize. And it's very affirming when we're able to do things that lift ourselves up instead of having to wait and ask for permission. That's really what this book is me not wanting to ask for permission and just wanting to get it out there.
How do you help people shift from disposal mindset to a long term mindset?
Uh, well, I think that it is difficult to really find a long-term mindset in your creative work until you really delve in and try things out and see what works for you, because I think that everything really it depends on the person, which I guess is maybe a cop out, but I think that it really is listening to yourself. And the process of writing this book for me very much taught myself to listen to myself and figure out what worked for me and what was sustainable for me. And that also changes over time. I mean, I think a lot of people say you have to write every day to be a writer. And there's periods of my life where I have written every day, but that's not the place I'm in right now. And I think that's okay. Like, listening to yourself and, yes, pushing yourself to try and better yourself and better your creative process is great. But if you're being overly hard on yourself, that's not gonna help anyone. I think that it's okay to have fallow times. I mean, that's so that we can be more creative at other times. I think you listening to your what is okay for yourself is really important.
It's okay, people. And what's your process for evaluating whether something is worth keeping or investing in?
My process for seeing if something is worth keeping or investing in really comes down to, again, I feel like I'm talking a lot about just like internal feelings, but it really does come down to that. Um, just feeling if it's working for me. I mean, writing this book, I think, was one of the best ways to possibly invest in myself. Um, I felt more fulfilled and actually more creative, and like my well was deeper in order to dip into in other ways the more I wrote, and the more I worked on this creative work. I think that yeah, I mean, if anything is making it so everything else feels like you have more energy to do it, then that's probably something that's affirming and should be, at least now, part of your creative process. And I mean, I'm getting into writing my second book right now. Like I said, I've taken some time off from the full rigor of a daily writing schedule, and I think that that's totally fine. But getting back into that, I'm trying to find a way to do it that is sustainable and that won't cause burnout, but will make me feel more creative and have a deeper well for everything else in my life every day by adding in that process, which really is trial and error, I think.
Okay, Miss Tara, as an author, a debut author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Well, short-term goals are to try to tell as many people possible about It Will Last Longer, get the news of the book out there, hopefully find an audience that is interested in this kind of literary fiction. Um, it's a part of the creative process that I'm very uncomfortable with, trying to market myself, but it's also an important part of it. So I'm trying to really let myself sit in that unease and be willing to try to tell people about my book. And so right now the goal is to try to get as many people possible to want to read it. And then long term is to continue to write and grow as an author, as a writer. You know, particularly in long form fiction, but I've been writing more short creative nonfiction as well. I just want to try to flex my writing muscles in all sorts of ways and really find ways that are creatively fulfilling to me to continue on in this alongside my film career. And I hope to just be writing for the rest of my life in some capacity. So hopefully, more books down the road would be the goal.
Looking forward for more books, Miss Tara, and keep up the good work. What would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be a debut author like you?
To keep writing even when you think what you're writing sucks. Because that's the thing. You just have to push through, and then you will put in the time and the effort to edit and to hone and to rebuild what you've already created. But the hardest part is just pushing through and starting and believing in yourself enough to know that, like, even if you don't like what it is right now, you can keep going. You have the stamina, you have the endurance to keep going and to make it into something better. Don't give up is really the advice, because it's a slog. Writing a book is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And uh it will continue to become more and more the thing that you are trying to actually make and get out in the world as you continue to work on it. So just don't give up, even if you don't like where it is right now, because it takes time. Getting that first draft out there is something to really commend yourself on, because it's hard. But once you have that, it's all up from there.
Yes, people, don't give up. Try until you succeed. And Ms. Tara, thank you for that advice. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Books that influence my journey. Well, um, I think that there's so many books that have influenced my journey. And I have to say, just in general, one of the authors that has really inspired me to write and that I would encourage other people to read is Dostoevsky, which I know sounds a little pedantic. I literally have a Brothers Karamazov tattoo, but the Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky, I would always, always recommend. It's one of my favorite books in the world because it really delves into what it means to be a person and a member of a family, and just kind of the meaning of existence, kind of everything. And I really think that that's what books, hopefully, I mean, that's what I aspire to do as a writer, is to really write something that makes people think about life in the broad scope, but also in the minutia of their own life, and really think about what matters to them, and inspires them to change something that they don't like about their life, try to push themselves to be the person that they want to be. So I mean, that is always the first book that I recommend to people. And then right now I'll say Murakami, what I talk about when I talk about running. I just recently read that, and I just made the metaphor of talking about writing as a marathon, and Murakami is an author and marathon runner. And I think, talking about the creative process like we have today, I would say this is a great way to look at running and writing as parallel tracks of endurance sport, pretty much. And whether or not you're a runner and an author, I think thinking about things through the terms of endurance and how much you can push yourself, and you need to, in order to stick with something for the long haul. That's something that I'm really focusing and thinking on right now. So that's a great book. It's a short read. I would recommend. Yeah, so those two.
Thank you for the recommended books, Miss Tara. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, comedy 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101, and Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in each first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Tara, what possession have you owned the longest and it still brings joy to you?
Wow. Honestly, I mean, I'm just going to say this is maybe a cop out because it's multiple, but the books that I've had since childhood, which a lot of them are behind me. Um, I recently moved and got to organize my entire book collection by genre and author. And this just brings me so much joy, just the collection of all these things that I really love and have gotten so much out of over the years, which are here behind me at home right now. But I would say just all of my books that I've curated and collected over the years.
Indeed. And Miss Tara, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your debut novel or debut books? Miss Tara, can you please invite our listeners to support your
Oh, yes.
debut
I'm so
books?
sorry.
No
Yes.
worries.
My book is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, my website, which is tarasandersbrooks.com. You can read more about, the certain brand of crime literary fiction that I'm writing there. And it's available for pre-order, both in ebook and print versions. So if you're interested, look into it. I would be super happy if you were.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Tara because if you support her, for sure, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Tara, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
More to come, people. See you soon.